Hi, Trevor. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are things in Sudbury?
Things are great in Sudbury. A lot of excitement, in particular in Northern Ontario these days, concerning the prospect of the future around energy transition and movement. Given Nickeltown, we're having lots of fun here with Frontier Lithium being headquartered out of the north.
Trevor, Frontier's project is called the PAK Lithium Project, and it's situated in Northern Ontario. You recently published an updated resource on the PAK project in 2022, and I want to review it so we get a sense of the economics behind this project. Can you just provide a brief overview of the net present value, the internal rate of return, and also the mine life?
Sure, 26-year project life. In US dollars, $1 billion NPV. It's a 21% internal rate of return. Um, Fundamental parameter to base those economics around would be carrying lithium hydroxide or lithium chemical price of about $13,500 US. And $750 a ton for spodumene concentrate. So the excitement is, when we plug in roughly $20,000 per ton chemical, there's a rough 2-time multiple on that net present value. Pretty excited given the fact that there's current spot pricing for chemicals between $70,000 and $80,000 a ton US. So pretty robust project located in northwestern Ontario. The whole premise of the project is mine, mill, downstream chemical plant to produce premium lithium chemicals, obviously to feed the battery and EV supply chain, really in the Great Lakes region. So that's the vision for the company.
And I should have brought this up earlier, but the feasibility is based on two deposits, the PAK deposit and the Spark deposit. Can you just provide a brief overview of these two deposits?
Sure. On our project, there's been 4 discoveries to date, 2 of which are the deposits that you referenced. They're both outcropped at surface. They're located roughly 2 kilometers from each other. We've received a mining lease from the Ontario government that took about 4.5 years. That was a 4.5-year process to receive that mining lease. So really tremendous opportunity having the 2 deposits being so close to each other. They combined make up North America's highest grade lithium resource that's currently just over 1.5% lithium oxide. There are 42 million tons in total, roughly 2/3 of that still under the inferred category. The balance under measured and indicated. We had a really extensive program on our project this year. Up until 2022, roughly 14,000 meters of drilling was conducted on that resource. In 2022, about 16,000 meters drilled, or a 2x over previous expenditure. So 2022 is a very exciting year for the company. And not only did we see much success on that drilling that focused on the Spark deposit, the 32 of the 42 million tons, we raised the level of confidence, but we also realized an increase in size. So we're excited about that growth. Both deposits remain open in all directions, so the ability to continue to increase in size is very high. We also have some other showings of pegmatite, the host rock for our spodumene, on our project in between those 2 deposits. So really exciting project here in the northwest of Ontario.
Trevor, you made mention of the fact that the average grade is, did you say 1.5%?
Yeah, just over 1.5% lithium oxide grade. That's
And
the
I'm,
highest grade in North America.
and I'm curious, how does that compare to other spodumene deposits throughout the world?
Yeah, globally, I'd say from resources that appear to have economic grade and size, the mean is roughly around 1.1 to 1% lithium oxide grade. So effectively 50% higher than global peers on average.
Now, another important element for spodumene deposits is low impurities. Can you just touch on the importance of low impurities and how this impacts the economics? And maybe you can just touch on what it is at the PAK deposit.
Yeah. So great that you started off with grade. Grade is king. We like to call width or the width of an ore body queen. Many don't reference the widths of the average size ore body because many of them are very narrow. So width is best represented by stripping ratios. So we're really fortunate here on the PAK project under the PEA to have the lowest stripping ratio as well in North America. That's really important because it really is a key driver into and a constraint to consider when asking your question around impurity levels. Impurities can be classified or looked at through two ways. Number one, the amount of impurities that are carried through host rock or rock that the ore that the spodumene is carried is in contact with that naturally needs to be removed as much as possible before it undergoes any processing. So when you have a larger width, basically it reduces the amount of interface or contact between deleterious materials that could really cause problems in processing and ultimately put your product out of spec. The second and really important factor when we consider impurity levels is in the actual spodumene itself. Iron is a key proxy that's carried by many deleterious impurities that could be inside the actual crystal where the lithium resides. So we're really fortunate here on our project, and this is a newly emerging lithium district for North America that boasts the lowest iron levels, not only in the concentrates that we're producing, but also in the actual lattice of the spodumene, meaning it's really high quality minerals. So when you consider those two things, we have the ability to produce really high quality chemicals in the future to feed the marketplace with.
The two notable characteristics of the PAK deposit are grade and scale. We've already discussed grade in great detail, and now I want to touch a little bit on scale. You mentioned already that it's opened in all directions, so that's a good segue into your exploration program. You have 41 million tons, and I want to determine how you're going to grow that in the coming years. Maybe you can just touch on your exploration program that was done in 2022, and then touch on what you're going to do in 2023.
So we really have a lot of excitement taking place in the company. In 2022, that really was on the heels of a PEA, preliminary economic assessments, the previous year. So we realized that we needed to increase the level of confidence, and primary objective for 2022 was diamond drilling, and the focus was on the low-hanging fruit on the project and conversion from inferred to measured and indicated on the larger Spark resource. So that's by all measures was tremendously successful for the company. 2023 is really about the next development steps. So we have a clear strategy in the company to have a dual approach to both continue to show scale in the project and continue to increase the size of the resource, while we're also moving in through further feasibility work. The overall exploration target on the project, in fact, we believe we have strong potential to see or realize a 100 million ton resource at surface that could be open pit material. We will continue to work towards that again while we advance. So what we really did get accomplished was that we essentially have found that critical mass to support the development and construction for a mining project. So that's really exciting, and we're thrilled to be in a position with such great widths to be really efficient to continue to show that scale and continue to invest and progress and advance feasibility work in line with baseline environmental and all the other programs and technical studies are required for permitting and construction and build out of the PAK Lithium project into a mine.
And just to clarify, there's two deposits and together they added up to 41 million tons, but you can see it being as large as 100 million tons?
Yeah, that's correct. We see strong potential. That's our exploration target. We're really fortunate now that we've had so much success on the project from discovery to the realization that everything that we see at surface projects at depth. And in the case of the PAK deposit, we've tested down roughly 300 meters from surface. Spark deposit now through drilling that took place in 2022 down where we're at depths of 400 meters from surface. And we can comment that the grade thicknesses are persisting with depth, meaning the amount of lithium over amount of intersection that's drilled remains, and it does not diminish with depth. So that's really tremendous. So when we look at a PAK of 10 million tons, we see long-term possibility for 20 million tons there. Spark currently at 32 million tons. We believe that that can be doubled in size to 60. And when we look at bolts showing in between the two deposits, we see the potential there for another possible 20 million tons to add to resource potential. So that puts us in around that 100 million mark. So if that is accomplished, that would definitely set us likely top in size from a hard rock perspective for lithium on the continent, and rank very favorably with global peers.
Trevor, you mentioned earlier that the space between the two main deposits is approximately 2 kilometers. Is there any way that you can connect these two deposits so it's just one massive deposit, or is it still too early to tell?
That's a great question, and what we can say is that there's strong evidence to suggest that they are connected. We see a structural feature. So essentially, two deposits lie on the same structure. They're close in proximity. We're really fortunate in between the two is a 600 meter long showing the bolt pegmatite that has shown widths of around up to 50 meters wide and plus 600-meter long showing there. So that roughly eats up, a third of that distance between the two deposits. We have not drilled in between the two deposits, so that's a really exciting prospect. We look forward in 2023 to end off on one of your earlier questions to assess the potential that is at Bolt. But when we look at the composition and grade of the initial channel samples that have been put in at the Bolt pegmatite, looks very similar to the Spark material. So again, there's lots of correlation there on the same structure. By all means, they suggest that there's strong potential that they're connected in one way, shape, or form. Especially when we think about these pegmatites, they're really like an igneous ore body or a melting system that comes up. So unlike alteration zones where you may have fluids, some containing sulfide bearing gold, for example, in areas, some not. This type of emplacement of ore is a little more predictable. So we're really, really excited about this prospect, and again, strong evidence to suggest they're connected in one way, shape, or form.
And Trevor, when will your 2023 drilling program commence, and how many rigs will you have on site?
Yeah, imminently. So really excited for 2023. In 2022, we had 2 drill rigs turning. There'll remain to be 2 drill rigs on the project throughout 2023. We'll see a combination of both engineering holes required for advancing feasibility. Things such as geotechnical drilling and hydrogeology work for nested wells, all the things necessary for proper design for future mining operation, and as well drilling for a little bit further infill drilling where there's a few gaps that have been realized, as well primary objective of some step out drilling to further increase total resource size and to work towards that objective of the exploration target of roughly 100 million tons on the project.
Trevor, I want to move on now and discuss your balance sheet. In late 2022, you did a small raise. Maybe you can just tell us how much you ended up raising and what the proceeds will be for.
Yeah, we raised roughly $23 million. There's $32 million in the till currently. Those monies and use the proceeds primarily to deliver, continue to deliver feasibility work, finalization of pre-feasibility, and also to work towards definitive feasibility phase 1. So we've broken out, we'll highlight feasibility a staged process, phase 1 being mine, mill, and production of spodumene concentrates. Further, phase 2 to scale production of spodumene concentrates and feed downstream chemical plant. So not only to finance DFS phase 1, but also essential programs such as construction, procurement and construction of a planned demonstration plant to produce lithium chemicals. So really those, as well as general G&A expenditures, are main use of proceeds for the monies that we currently have. So we're strongly financed for a really robust and exciting 2023.
Trevor, I was interested to see that the lead underwriters were RBC and Goldman Sachs. And I thought that was surprising given how small this deal was and therefore how small the economics were. Maybe you can give us some color as to what their motivation was for participating or leading this deal.
I really think that it speaks to the importance and strategic nature of our resource. This is coming at a time as well where we're seeing the Canadian government force divestments from any Chinese central government related companies that are invested in strategic or any critical mineral resources in Canada. So, this is a converging time, and this industry really is at its infancy and beginning steps. So I think it really speaks to the importance of our project. So we're really fortunate to have both advisory and strong support from both Royal Bank and of Canada and Goldman Sachs.
A trend we're seeing in recent years are OEMs entering into equity agreements with producers to secure supply. Are you speaking with many OEMs?
Yeah, we're I like to describe that as we're in a process right now of communicating, and we are under lots of non-disclosure agreements. So I've got to be careful and not get too granular here with my comments. But we're talking to everyone from incumbent lithium suppliers right through to auto OEMs. It's a tremendous opportunity to receive project support. So to really tie offtake into receiving much needed support, whether it's things through prepaid or equity type loans as well. So what's important for someone, a group like ourselves with a real strong asset, which I reference as a tier 1 resource in a tier 1 jurisdiction, is one step at a time. Pre-feasibility is a significant milestone. So, once we have that completed, we'll look to accelerate or advance our conversations beyond the exploration stage to ultimately, who could make potential partners, who could be best served strategically with future output of chemicals from Frontier Lithium. The world's looking to deglobalize and really decouple from East Asian markets, in particular China's dominance around production of chemicals. So that plays very well into Frontier Lithium's hand, given the strategic location that we have such a high quality asset located in. So really excited about the potential that we have, and we've got to be smart about this. So we're going one step at a time here as we advance the project.
Trevor, as we wrap up, can you summarize what investors can expect in terms of news flow from Frontier Lithium through 2023?
Again, very exciting year ahead. Cashed up to really accomplish a few things. Primary objectives now are to continue with some infill drilling, help advance the feasibility, deliver pre-feasibility, and also bite of DFS phase 1, which would be mine and mill. As well, we are early stages of planning and engineering for a demonstration chemical plant. So it's an essential program to support future DFS phase 2. So we'll have lots of activities and Lots of news surrounding that development. And one that you touched upon earlier is continuing to show scale on the project. Under PEA, for example, in 2021, roughly about a 25-year project life. So, showing scalability allows, especially during such a supply crunch that OEMs are facing, the ability to scale, provide more materials, much needed materials in the Great Lakes region, based on the plans that have been outlaid by OEMs, as well the ability to show long life sustainability for the benefits of building local supply chain. So this is really about showing the anchor resource qualities of the PAK Lithium project and going through the proper steps of advancing feasibility. So in total, we've got quite a healthy expenditure planned for 2023, and we're well cashed up to do that. So a lot of excitement with shareholders. I can tell you lots of excitements from industry and all the various conversations that we're having surrounding our project and the prospect of being an anchor resource to supply much needed chemicals in the Great Lakes region.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting year at Frontier Lithium, and I want to thank you very much for spending time with us today and sharing the story. Once again, thank you.
Thanks very much. It was a lot of fun, and look forward to speaking again and keeping the dialogue going around the progress that we're making. Sure appreciate it.